Hello, and welcome back to another day of Crypto Observance with the Crypto Observers, a podcast that lives on the frontier of the cryptocurrency revolution.
It's important to note that these are just our observations and not to be considered professional financial advice. But we are active investors in cryptocurrency,
as well as experienced entrepreneurs on the pursuit of financial freedom while exploring new ideas, emerging industries, and the limitless potential of the future. All right. Welcome back. Another day.
Yeah, welcome back to another episode of Crypto Observers. We're here. This is Mindy and Christian.
Good to be here.
Good to be here. It's November 27th, and we figured it'd be a good day to record another episode because the market is doing
what it does.
A lot of
fluctuation, a lot of volatility.
Bouncing around a lot.
I gotta admit, it's beautiful to see, though. I'm happy to see that the cryptos are replicating some of the things they did back in 2017 before we had a good bull run.
Right. So today is the day before Thanksgiving, and we're seeing a huge spike again from Bitcoin as it was down to, I think the lowest we've seen it go was just a few days ago. It was at, 6,800. It was about the lowest I've seen it, 6,008.
Below 7,000.
And today it jumped back up to 7,500. So right now it is the most changed currency on the Coinbase market, up 5.76%. And then we got Ethereum, that's up 4.35% to 154.39. XRP is up 2.86% to 23 cents. So not a full recovery for any of these, really. But we are seeing that they are bouncing back up. And this trend, like Christian said, is remnant of what happened in 2017.
Yes, it is. And for those of you that keep up with your crypto news, I'm sure that you've been hearing a lot of speculation about the coins having a run up here soon, especially altcoins. I'm sure you're familiar with the term altcoin season or alt season, and that is surely taking off. I think that now's a good time to place your stake in some of those smaller coins and see how they do going into late December, early January. Of course, again, this is not financial advice, but we do observe the market, and we just want you to consider doing the same and taking advantage of some new opportunities.
And sharing our perspectives, too. Because even between Christian and I, we do have some difference in opinions. But a lot of the things that we see the puzzle pieces coming together on, we agree on because it's almost mathematically sound based off of previous examples. So, again, not financial advice, just our observations and perspectives.
Now, I will say, so right now we're looking at the market. XRP, for instance, is at 23 cents. Bitcoin's at 7,545. I would estimate that there's going to be one more dip down to maybe a second low from what we just saw. So that's 6,800. I think we could potentially see Bitcoin go a little bit further down before a huge spike up. I personally, however, do not mind buying XRP at 23 cents. I don't mind buying it at 25 cents. I think that when you see it long term, XRP could potentially be $20 next year. And that's some of the estimates that I'm hearing. And with that in mind, 25 cents is a deal, is a bargain.
Right, with this, as far as it is estimated to go.
Yeah, so even if there is going to be another dip, I guess I'm saying that right now it's still a good time to get in. Think about your lows, think about your highs. So let's say that at the lowest, XRP were to go to 15 cents. That would be an incredible buy. But then again, you don't want to try to time the market to the point that you miss out on the opportunity and it shoots up to $1 or $2. And that goes for all the coins, Bitcoin especially. I think any true crypto enthusiast is expecting Bitcoin to make a rapid return to $10,000. And if that's the case, why not make a bet at 7,000? It's a good time to buy in and hodl.
Right, and as we've noticed that it takes a lot of attention to the market in day by day based off of its fluctuations. So it is kind of fun, again, for us to watch it take big dips like this, and we know when to take out our investments or move them to a more secure coin, and then buy back in whenever it's lower, and then hope, not even really hope at this point, it's like you're calculating the future of the coin that you're reinvesting in.
Right. Yeah. What I try to focus mostly on is the number of coins purchased, and instead of so much as, am I getting this for the lowest possible price?
Right.
And I would just focus more on how many am I getting. So when you put in a couple $100 into a coin, and instead of a few cents, you should come out with a few thousand coins, and then thinking long term, if that were to go to $10 a coin or even higher, that's gonna multiply per coin. So if you have a few thousand coins, that's a great investment, regardless of what you bought them at. If you bought them at 25 cents and the price went down to 20 cents, you still have the same number of coins, and I think it's really important to remember that.
Right. Yeah, I feel like it is easy to get sidetracked maybe on your investments and recognizing that you want to invest, say, $50. And $50 will only get you like a fraction of a Bitcoin, but it could get you a few like whole coins,
right? Yeah.
In some other cryptocurrency. So coming in with a new mindset, you might not be aware that what you're in essence wanting to focus mostly on is the number of coins that you're getting, and
right.
Recognizing whenever it is just a certain percentage of one coin.
Yeah, whenever that price goes up, that's the price in reference to one unit of that cryptocurrency. So whether it's a coin or a token, you're going to want to consider how many you're getting. In other news,
I feel like that's where a lot of the just not understanding or scarcity or just being afraid of cryptocurrency, where that kind of comes from, is not understanding the basics of just how to invest in it and when to pull your money out of it because you're not seeing a return,
and how to avoid being affected by the volatility to a point that you lose all your money.
Right. Or being influenced, like we kind of just shift gears, by fake news. We've been hearing a lot of
speculation, fake news,
things that are put out by the media that we have kind of found to be untrue, and also done in order to create this scared, to create a fear around investing in cryptocurrency or moving towards using that as a new decentralized currency. They want to incite fear.
I agree.
Without any kind of actual representation.
It's kind of a plan almost, it seems like, to just keep the public away from cryptocurrency until the governments have more control over it and it's more institutionalized. Recently, there was an article. There was a few news articles referencing raids in China and how China's coming down on cryptocurrency, and they want to ban blockchain, ban Bitcoin, and there were supposedly some raids on a Binance office or headquarters office, as well as another crypto exchange in China. I have come to find that those are not necessarily real raids. And actually, the Binance has not had an office in China for over 2 years. So if that's the case, that definitely signifies to me that that would have been fake news, or just, information the media leaks out or tries to put out to incite fear, like you were saying.
It's falsified. I would go as far as to say just they're straight up lies in order to try to control the views that the masses have on investing in cryptocurrency. Because with the holidays coming up, there is a lot of incentive to spend money on something that you could have a return on, so that you can invest more in material items. So there's there's a lot of interest generated from people who are coming into having a lot of money, perhaps people who just graduated from high school, graduated from college. They want to invest in something other than what the dollar has to offer, and then they see some article like this where they're saying that these facilities were raided.
Yeah, and they're being banned and shut down.
Right, and I seen a similar article, which I'm not sure is. I'm not trying to say every article I read is true or completely false. I'd like to do research on it before I make those 100% speculative choices.
Right,
but
for sure. Yeah.
About India and their blockchain regulation and how they intend to punish people for using any kind of existing cryptocurrency such as Bitcoin or Ethereum or Litecoin, and that they're wanting to develop their own type of cryptocurrencies, and much in the way that I feel like China, is approaching it. They're saying, we're developing our own cryptocurrency, and if you use anything else within China's walls, literally, that you can't, you're going to be put in jail for up to 10 years. So losing freedoms, that's kind of on the table.
And that was India, right?
That's in India, yeah. Right.
So I think right now it's kind of almost a war between the consumer, between the general public, and these government institutions.
Right, because they're very centralized governments.
Very
and they
centralized,
all want to keep it that way.
Right, and cryptocurrency is just reeking of decentralization and allowing us to create our own markets and for us to almost build our own ecosystems and economies.
Right.
And move away from that centralization of the government. And I think that there's just this huge plot to kind of keep that from happening by any means.
There's a big boost to create this illusion that it's something to be afraid of.
Yeah,
so
and it's definitely not. I think if people have more knowledge of what the central banking system actually implies for us as civilians, they would be more excited about cryptocurrency.
Right. I agree. And there are different ways. I feel like that's one of the pushes or the drives or the calling that we feel in creating the podcast, even just talking about cryptocurrencies and what we see from our perspective on what's going on in the market, and despite what's actually being said in the media, which are typically really clashing. They're not based on truth. A lot of times it's based off of information that we can't get to the root of or find why exactly, you should fear this obviously volatile market, but it's not something that is without potential, right? We're seeing so much potential in the future of blockchain that is mind-blowing.
And I think that's only going to become more and more extensive. We'll see blockchain completely take over many industries. And then those government institutions likely are just, again, trying to put the brakes on it because of control and just trying to maintain the control that they've had previously.
Yeah. And totally makes sense, based off of previous examples of how the government in general has kind of maintained a level of corruption, or I don't want to cross any boundaries with what we can say on a podcast, but yeah. It seems like our viewpoints have been shifted, and it's important to really think for yourself and make the decisions that drive your future, or that those choices are based on.
So I'm
what's
curious,
true.
What industries you see blockchain being used more in?
Right now, I've been kind of looking at, again, the social impact of blockchain, and agriculture and land rights have been one of the first newer and upcoming implementations about keeping track of the land ownership and development of the land, and just transferring ownership and things like that has previously been really tricky, especially whenever corporations are involved or there's multiple people who claim ownership of one parcel of land, and then you have to determine in the long run who it's been handed down to. So a lot of that's been lost in records and can be redistributed. Information like that can be replaced into a ledger.
Right, so that it can't
ledger.
Be lost in the future.
Right, and assigned to essentially a map. So you could use some kind of a GIS map to infiltrate that information.
And what is GIS?
It's a global imaging satellite system, so it would be like a Google Earth map kind of system.
Oh, and have that connected to the information in the blockchain.
Right, and then you could kind of see, since people think that they can own land, you know.
Right. That's something that we're doing right now, yeah.
Yeah, so that they can keep track of who owns it. And another industry is like climate and environment. They are talking about tokenizing certain aspects of people's home and the energy that they consume in their vehicles. And then they tokenize incentives for customers to use less carbon emissions. So essentially, like if you bought a Tesla, you could be rewarded like 50,000 Ethereum.
Okay.
Right. Wow. So you would have like kickbacks. Not even necessarily that type of cryptocurrency, but if there were in your area like provided by
some type of program like that. And it's almost just like, I know right now in California, for instance, they have tax cuts for certain upgrades that you make to your car.
Right. Same with like solar panels on your house and stuff like that. So they would essentially give you some type of a blockchain or crypto or tokenized reward as an incentive for using less carbon emissions or creating less of a carbon imprint.
And that's definitely what we need to continue to build the market for cryptocurrency and to get to the point where there's mass adoption and we're using it every day and it's actually making an impact on society. I mean, which it already is, obviously, but we want to see that go further. Speaking of impact on society, I did want to bring up this interesting side story that I noticed earlier on decrypt.co about a mysterious botnet that is using YouTube to illegally mine cryptocurrency. And this is referred to as the Stantico botnet, and apparently was discovered in 2017, however has been operating since 2012. So my understanding of this was that an artificial intelligence network designed likely by a hacker at some point has been released onto the internet to go rogue and corrupt as much of society as possible. Its latest venture is creating infected YouTube channels, and those YouTube channels, if you visit them, will give you this virus that then utilizes your computer's power to mine cryptocurrency remotely. And I've personally never heard of anything like this, so I wanted to share it with our listeners, our viewers, and just kind of get your minds going about what does this mean for the future. You know, are there technologies out there that can operate independently of a user and actually corrupt our data or use our data or use other technology against us? Kind of like in Terminator, you know, it's almost the very beginning of that.
Right, and I feel like there are a lot of parallels in what we're seeing happen again with the media, and like I don't doubt that this is real. This is a very real one that does kind of like incite fear in me about the honest and open, very vulnerable like ends of our own software that we have on our computer, and the way that we take in information or put out information from our end. People just really are not educated on how to protect themselves. Yeah. So whenever it comes to things like this, like the Stantico botnet, and utilizing YouTube to mine, like for instance, Monero cryptocurrency on individuals' personal computers.
It says it's infected more than 500,000 devices around the world. And again, I'm referencing an article from decrypt.co.
And I've looked this up also, like the nextweb.com, and I saw an article just a second ago on Reddit, and there's obviously just so many trolls on there that I couldn't get to the bottom of it, but I do believe that
Stantico could be posting some of those comments on Reddit itself.
Right, and even I thought about the dangers of even Googling the name of, you know, this botnet thing.
Oh, yeah,
because
true. There's a target.
There are a lot of things that we just don't understand about our end of the deal. Like whenever we're logging in with our computers to or even just like our Wi-Fi, you know.
Yeah, so it's really kind of just like you're out there. I mean, imagine you having a house or being at your house, and the world is still operating and moving 24 hours a day, and anyone could potentially come up to your house or leave a package or anything like that. And typically at our homes we have security. We get an alarm system, purchase a firearm, have a guard dog, and people really don't think like that about their computers or about the internet.
Right.
We don't have security on our computers. A lot of people aren't even aware of what a VPN is, a virtual privacy network.
Yeah, which we definitely would suggest utilizing
For
if
sure.
you're going to use any kind of public Wi-Fi.
Yeah, even if you're just at the library or Starbucks. There's actually some hackers on YouTube. You can watch them hack into computers at Starbucks simply using the public Wi-Fi.
Right. So it's typically not very expensive to invest in like a VPN. We use ExpressVPN. I'm not sure if there's an affiliate link, but just take note of your security whenever, especially if you're buying anything with your computer.
Yeah, we'll definitely try to, if we do have a link to ExpressVPN to get you access, we'll share that in the description below.
Right, because just as likely as it is that there's fear-mongering going on, there are just as many real concerns to have about ensuring your safety with investing in cryptocurrency or in anything on the internet. So back to a little bit about the social impact of blockchain. Another implication of that is digital identity. So exchanging credentials, health information, your health history, notating like your charitable donations, things that you've purchased, and things as far as like filing your taxes, if that's actually going to continue to be a thing whenever we're all converted to cryptocurrency.
I'm sure that they're fighting real hard to keep the IRS in business.
Right. So, and then that kind of is an offshoot into the next aspect of the social impact of blockchain, which is government and democracy and voting systems. And this really promotes inclusivity, security, transparency, and immediacy. So it won't take 4 days to figure out who our next president will be. We don't have to sit around and assume that the Electoral College is going to make the best decision for us, because we can know without a doubt that our votes have been counted correctly. And that's kind of, I feel like, overall what the corruption in our government is wanting to keep in, like the centralization.
Right. Keep those loopholes so that they can cheat the system.
Right. The centralization is cheating the system, and no more, like the transparency within the blockchain system will allow for a fair democracy. And I feel like it could really be next to cannabis, just the leading front for our nation to like heal itself and kind of right the wrongs and make America great, like really just great.
Yeah, for the first time.
Yeah, make it
greater than it's ever been.
Amazing, and make it really impactful and beneficial element to the world, because I feel like right now we're just kind of a bully as a governing body, and it'd be cool.
And when you ask yourself, who's really controlling that? Who's really running that? Most of us sit at home as civilians. We're not waging war on foreign nations. We're not building bases.
Right, but we also don't. I feel like enough of us are getting to the age that we don't want a government who represents us in that way, and we have to obviously peacefully make it known that we do want to have that authority to change things in the future for our entire nation, especially the financial industry, and I don't know, just climate, like our own identity, the way that we vote, everything from the land that we live on to the houses and structures that we are inside of, the foods that we're eating. Blockchain's really going to impact every single industry in a way that I feel like will keep it honest or keep it transparent.
What you're making me think of, funny enough, is this movie called Invention of Lying with Ricky Gervais, and he's the first person that comes up with lying.
I've seen that.
And it makes me think of almost the reverse of that. When you come up with blockchain, It's like now the world suddenly has to be honest. Now,
and you can't lie.
You can't lie. Now all of the information, all the data is being kept track of. It's all being stored.
In an immutable ledger, which
that
is a blockchain.
everyone has access to.
Right.
And I think that's what we really need to be successful as a species.
I would agree. It's almost kind of like when you think about bees or ants, like, are they lying to each other about like going to get this whatever to do their things, you know, are they making up
excuses?
There's at some point, like, I feel like the human race started being dishonest in order to get oneself ahead, and that honestly never pays off as a species. Like, right, you're never going to take one step ahead and like push someone back without, you know, stumbling or like karmically like being drawn back.
Right, it could potentially affect generations to come.
Yeah.
Negatively.
So if there is some way to technologically, you know, keep everybody's honesty on the table and keep it very transparent and have it, I feel like this idea has been in motion for a while, but it hasn't really been able to be implemented fully. And now we're kind of at the cusp of that wave of seeing it really take place and crash, or not. I don't think it's crashing or coming to a head yet. It's still really swelling, so it's cool.
Still building. I think, and hopefully we'll see it in our lifetimes, but I think it's going to take a long time before it reaches full maturity, before it's, you know, blockchain that we all deserve.
Right. I was reading that the first blockchain was created by Stuart Haber in 1991. And essentially it was just like the first immutable ledger. And it wasn't until 2008 that the first cryptocurrency was developed on the back of this idea of utilizing the blockchain. And again, in 2008, Satoshi Nakamoto published the white paper for Bitcoin, but it wasn't really until like 2014 that there were hundreds of other new cryptocurrencies that started surfacing with the idea that the blockchain was really meant to be utilized for.
And I think
yeah, it's almost like all the puzzle pieces falling together for people to kind of get the idea and it to click.
I think a lot of the cryptocurrencies started to pop up on the market after the development of Ethereum because of smart contracts and the ability to create these tokens on the Ethereum network and then actually create systems in which they could be used and maintain liquidity. However, I learned the other day that Bitcoin has the same capabilities as you could build it. You could technically build other cryptocurrencies on top of the Lightning Network or on top of, you know, Bitcoin, and they would run on smart contracts just like they would on Ethereum. It's just that Ethereum has marketed that as their ability. You know, that's the main thing that they say about Ethereum. Not to say that it would be super beneficial to do those types of things on Bitcoin, but it does have those capabilities.
Right.
So potentially, I mean, I don't know, Ethereum, I was saying, brought a lot of those coins to the market.
Right. And I think that from my perspective, it seems like since 2018, it's been really clear, like, of all the potential applications for blockchain technology, and now it's just exploding. It's really, like, come to a head, and it's, like, coming to fruition, but there are still not foundations laid for all these industries to be shifted into this new dimension in a lot of ways. In doing things, was essentially leading into, I would say, the first application I could see on a large scale would be for voting. Like, if we all utilized our social security numbers and were able to implement our information into a system that was on a backed by a blockchain, so when we sign up with our accounts with our social security number, that would be one of the first applications I could see that would be immediately beneficial to our country, to our immediate lives, and like seeing that make a huge change in the future of the application of blockchain. Not saying that that's even going to happen, because I know like the resistance to utilizing these technologies, that they're there, but I feel like it's definitely in the works.
Yeah, it is in the works for sure. I think if we look back, I feel like Bitcoin is a testament to blockchain's perseverance and its potential for the future. So if we look back at Bitcoin, it went to $20,000. If it were simply a bubble, if the coins were a bubble entirely, not saying that they are going to experience bubbles periodically, but if the cryptocurrency market in and of itself were a bubble, I think we would have seen Bitcoin hit 20,000. We would have seen it go to zero, and that would have been the end.
So maybe more of a wave, because it's like it does swell back up again.
Yeah, and it's gonna be around. It's gonna become a staple in every household on Earth. You
right.
know?
You
not
see
necessarily Bitcoin, but cryptocurrency,
right,
and the combination of blockchain. And I think that's just a testament to see it go that high and then still come back down and give consumers a chance to get involved. It's just that 20,000 was just a sign of its potential. It wasn't a peak and then a crash. You know,
right.
It wasn't over for Bitcoin. And so that to me is a testament that those things are here to stay.
Yeah. And I feel like it's fun to compare like the industry standards of how the cryptocurrency technology and the blockchain technology are similar to, for instance, like Blockbuster and Netflix.
Oh, yes.
So that's something that I was definitely noticing whenever, I guess it was probably 2007, 2008, whenever Netflix finally started streaming content on the internet, and it was like you didn't have to get the actual discs.
Yeah.
And that you could just get it on there, and I was at the time working as a drafter at an engineering department, and this dude that I worked with, his wife worked at a family video store, and I was like, oh my goodness, like, have you seen that Netflix is about to do this? Like, this is huge, you know? Yeah. And I was like, I'm excited for being able to stream content in my house. And I'm super nervous for all these independently owned video companies.
How did the dude react? Did he go get his wife a new job?
No, he was like, it's not a big deal. You don't have to worry about it. Like, it's not even, it's just another flop, you know? He was saying, like, nobody's going to want to sacrifice having that experience of going to the video store. It's going to be so fun. You know, everybody loves going to the video store. And not even a year later, I swear, it was like, all the video stores were going out of business.
Yeah, I heard that the Netflix owner offered or attempted to sell Netflix to the Blockbuster owner before it was even streaming, you know, before they were streaming, and they turned them down. They denied the sale. Blockbuster didn't want anything to do with Netflix.
A lot of people were in denial about the potential of Netflix, and much in the way that I would compare it to the way that people are in denial about the potential of cryptocurrencies and the blockchain technology, because we can almost start a whole nother podcast about blockchain potential in other industries, but I feel like it's definitely part of this like crypto observance. So I mean, that's kind of unnecessary.
Observing the future and the potential for new markets, emerging industries.
It's definitely exciting and comparable to previous examples that we've experienced. And we've seen the iPhone introduced in 2010. Wasn't the first? I don't know. I think it was 2000.
I'm not sure when the first iPhone came out. That's a good question.
Because the wave that has happened since the iPhone was first introduced has been exponential, and people almost like depend on their smartphones now because the information that we're getting consistently, always, like directly from our devices that we have available to us. Like right now I can just look up like when was iPhone first released.
Yeah, you have access to unlimited information.
June 29, 2007. So I was a little bit off there.
2007.
And I would say that by 2010, it was completely, like the wave had crashed and everybody was adapting in the way that they just like are all doing the same thing. Everybody's going and getting one of these phones and like figuring out how to use it.
And it's weird how that
the
happens.
apps.
It's just everybody just like upgrades all. It's seemingly all at once, but I know it happens over the course of 1, 2, 3 years.
Right.
And we all just kind of upgrade to this new way of thinking, to these new ideas. Now everybody has an Android or an iPhone.
And it's a
Most
dimension
people have
shift.
both.
Yeah. It's almost like you're changing dimensions. Like now, whenever we need to go anywhere, you look it up on your phone. You don't really remember how to get anywhere unless it's kind of close to where you live. But you have access to everywhere as long as you have service, right? I feel like it's kind of be like that with cryptocurrency at first. Like you can utilize it as long as wherever you go, has it available to you.
Like a gas station or something.
I feel like it's definitely becoming more common for individuals to want to utilize it to pay for like bigger purchases, like trying to buy a house or a vehicle with cryptocurrency, especially if you've made a lot. If you've invested a little bit and you made a lot of cryptocurrency and you want to invest in like a Tesla, that's an option now.
I think it's really interesting that people get so comfortable in the United States dollar or just the way that things are now as if that's been around forever.
Right.
Think about Rome. Think about the climb and fall of Rome. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people imagine that as just this instantaneous, Rome disappeared. And it wasn't like that. Rome was a place of culture. It was a place of tradition. Mm-hmm. And what happened was eventually those traditions got so worn down and so forgotten, and then they started to allow immigrants and whatnot to come in, join the military, and all these traditions and everything were washed away by other traditions. So it's not like Rome just disappeared. Rome fell because its traditions fell.
Right, its traditions were integrated and almost dissolved into humanity.
And America has the opportunity to kind of go through that same experience. I don't see it as a negative thing.
I don't think it's negative at all, because what the roots of what America was built on need to be dissolved.
And we are working off of some very archaic beliefs, some very old ways of thinking that we're not even trying to find a new route around.
Right, some crusty foundations and really not making any fundamental sense right now to the youth. And I feel like once the younger generation gets into office and starts to shift gears on these rules and regulations and stipulations, and I'm almost certain that the outcome will be representative of more balance for like the climate, for the individual, for the government, and overall for the rest of the world.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we'll just see a change in American culture, and that to me gives me more hope for cryptocurrency. Things are going to transition. They always have in the past, and it's always good to be prepared for that transition and not fully comfortable in what you're experiencing right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, with that said, think about how the baby boomers and Generation X, or let's say the baby boomers, for instance, are getting up there in age, and as they pass away or pass off, they are also passing down expertise, knowledge, as well as their wealth, and giving inheritances to Generation Xers and Millennials and even Generation Z.
Right.
So there's this huge wealth transfer happening from these older generations to the younger generations.
Right.
And research is showing that those younger generations value cryptocurrency investment or these new vehicles of investment more so than the traditional styles.
Right.
So in a way, that old system is being washed out because the money is being passed down to a new way of thinking.
Super exciting.
And we're just going to kind of rebuild this place.
Mm-hmm.
And it may not be the same thing, but that's what happens over time. That's the children adopt new ways of thinking and then implement.
Yeah. And taking time to implement that it's not immediate, but it's definitely a shift. It's almost like watching the entire picture or mosaic of what's real kind of morph into a more decentralized, more honest and transparent, and I don't know, just kind of open-minded democracy where we all really do have the ability to make choices and keep track of it. And I don't know, it's kind of like your comparison earlier to, I thought that was a good comparison about how previously everybody has been very centralized and not transparent about what they're doing, and now the future will almost be like you can't lie, like you have to be honest about what you're doing.
Very transparent. And I just want to leave you guys with the idea that when we talk about the future of cryptocurrency, of augmented reality and virtual reality, for instance, think about where that could be in 20 years and how transactions will be taking place on those platforms. So if you were able to purchase items in augmented reality or virtual reality, what's going to make that a seamless transaction? What's going to make that a beautiful experience that you never forget and you always want to come back to? Obviously, the most capable thing we have right now is cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
And I could only see that becoming more powerful and implemented on a wider scale.
There's so many potentials in that area of expansion, because from every industry that is applicable, like fashion, any kind of design, right? It's just next level.
Yeah, it is. And I think that we are just about out of time here. But again, I want to thank you all for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us for another episode and listening all the way to the end.
And we will see you again soon. Talk to you again soon. We're going to be trying to change up our content a little bit and just always adding something new, bringing something new to the page. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, we might start posting more short form mini-sodes for you about the updates on the market, where we just kind of pop in and give little updates. So be on the lookout for those. And we also value your feedback and would love to hear your opinions on what we're saying and our perspectives, and hear your perspective.
Yeah, definitely get down in the comments and share some love, share some ideas.
And share this episode if you enjoyed it.
Ask us some questions. Let's get this community growing. You
can find us on LinkedIn, Crypto Observers. We're on Facebook. I think you can message us there if you have any questions or comments.
On Facebook, we're on YouTube. Sure. You can also visit generationarchitect.org, and we are currently providing free success plans for anyone trying to get involved in their own business or failing to succeed in their current industry. And we will also help you get acquainted with Coinbase if you'd like to start investing in cryptocurrency. So thanks again, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Crypto Observers. As always, we had a great time and hope you did as well. Tell us how you feel in the comments, like us on Facebook at Crypto Observers, and be sure to follow us so you don't miss future episodes. In every episode, we try to provide our listeners with beneficial resources that can make you a better crypto investor and a more successful entrepreneur.
So if you're new to cryptocurrency and simply want to start investing with as little as $5, Coinbase is the place to be. With an intuitive user interface and live monitoring of your portfolio from your phone or computer, Coinbase is the perfect online exchange for beginners, and even more for experienced investors. Use our link to get $10 of crypto for free when you invest your first $100.
Are you struggling to make online payments? Does your bank charge unnecessary fees? Need a checking or savings account fast? Consider switching to Chime Banking, an online banking platform that provides you with all the same resources as a traditional bank. Easily get a checking account with accessible routing and account numbers, cashback savings, a custom debit card, and above all else, no fees. Use our link to create an account today, entirely free.